Hi guys, it's Jill Blanchett with Green Thumb Stampers. I'm here for another version of Finally Friday. I just did my intro and didn't press the right button, so I am on another take of this video. So it's just going to be one of those days, I guess. Today's Friday the 6th, possibly, Friday after the election. Lost track of my days. I'm going to show you guys about embossing folders today. So hang tight, I'll gather the rest of my goodies and I will be right back. Okay, so I have my big shot in the screen right now in the view for you to see. This is what Stampin' Up! Used to have. We went to the new machine, this annual catalog. This is a big shot by Sizzix. I'm having a really rough time getting the whole thing to show up in my frame, so you're probably missing out on the handle part of it. I'll move it over a little bit. We no longer sell this, but this will still work just fine. You can adapt your plates to any of the new Stampin' Up! Emboss 3D embossing folders will still work in this machine. I am going to show you the different layers that you're going to need to use. So you'll have a base plate in your big shot, your clear plate, then you have several varieties of embossing folders now. So this is just the Sizzix Big Shot for Stampin' Up! Impressions embossing folder. Now this is just regular thickness. So you just need the clear plate, your folder with your paper inside, and then another clear plate, and run that through. And that will be all you need to do for that style. Handy tip, whenever possible, always run the folded edge of the plate through first. It will work this way. It will work this way. You're just risking busting the seam by running it through when it's not head on into the machine first. The next kind of folder that you can run up against will be the Sizzix Big Shot for Stampin' Up! Folders. And they were called Dynamic Textured Impressions Embossing Folders. Now, the 3D embossing folders from the Sizzix ones were called Dynamic Textured Folders. I think I just told you that. You only need the base plate, the folder, and your top plate for those. Now, when you get into these wider folders, definitely be careful that it's not running through like kitty wampus. See, can you see I got a little bit of edge sticking out there? As soon as you start to roll and that's sticking out, it's going to start to squeeze through the center, and since it's not straight, it's going to try and make it straight, but it's squished down with the rollers, so what you're going to end up doing is smashing in the side of your folder, and it's going to scrape it all up, smash it, make a mess out of it, possibly even break it, take like a chunk out of it or something. So definitely make sure that it is centered on your plate straight and it's running through there. So that is the Big Shot 3D folder. So what we'll go through next is the Stampin' Cut and Emboss embossing folders, and this particular one is a 3D folder. These are different than the dynamic folders that Sizzix made, as in they're not quite as thick, but they are too thick for the normal sandwich. So, as always, put the edge in first, put your paper in, straight on your base plate, and then at the time, Stampin' Up! Made a blue plate that you could purchase that was a little bit thicker than the clear plates, and I will show you. Can you see this is a gray one, of course, but can you see that it's a little bit thicker? So we no longer sell the blue one. If you have the blue one, that's what you want to put on here. If you don't have the blue one and you have the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss 3D plates with your Big Shot, you will want to purchase a number 4 plate from our current catalog. Put that on the top, and then that will run through the machine and give you your perfect impression every time. Our next embossing folder will be just the regular Stampin' Cut and Emboss regular embossing folder. It does not say 3D on it, so you want to put your paper in there. These are back to the thin one, so put your paper in, put your fold in first. You'll have your base plate, and for this you will want to use your 2 clear plates with the embossing folder and paper sandwiched in between. That will be what you would use for a standard Stampin' Cut and Emboss folder, the new ones that Stampin' Up has come out with. So that's basically how your Big Shot should be working with the sandwiches. Alright, so now in my opinion, I saved the best for last. I will show you my new, it's going to make a lot of noise when I close it up, but this is the new Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. I showed it to you guys a few weeks ago when I first got it, so I won't go through all that again. Well, I guess I sort of am showing you how the sandwiches work, but this is good need-to-know information. So with the new machine, they have given us the plates and the instructions for how to make the sandwich on the plates. So this up here is for the dies if you're using the like the thinlits, and then these are for your embossing folders. So I'm going to put the plate down first, the base plate, and then I will show you the here it says number 1, which is this, and let me get out my, I'm using my old plates from my Big Shot because these are so messed up, but as you can see, I mean they still work, but they're just really grungy. So as you can see, Stampin' Up's put numbers on them all that coincide with your sandwich down here. So what we want to do, I'm going to work backwards from the last video because this is what I got right on top. So for the Stampin' Cut and Emboss plain old embossing folder, you're going to put your base plate down, your number 3, your folder with the folded seam end in first, and then you're going to put your second number 3 on the top and run that through. Okay. So now if you're going to use the Stampin' Cut and Emboss 3D folder, it says 3D embossing folder on it, you will want to take your number 3s off, find your folder here, put in your piece of paper, seam side first, and you're just going to, right here's the number 1, you're going to put your folder directly onto the base, and then you're going to use the gray number 4 plate. Make sure that it's even, the sides aren't hanging over, and then run it through. If you are using your older folders from Sizzix, I hear you. If you're going to be using the Sizzix folders, again we have the dynamic folder. We will use the base plate. You're going to put your paper in, and then because this is very thick, you will want just a number 3 plate. It's a little bit thinner than the gray or the blue one, so then that's all you want is the number 3 plate, and then you'll run that on through. And it's amazing how much that little tiny piece of paper that you stick in there is going to give resistance. So from there, your next choice could be a regular Sizzix embossing folder, just the Impressions embossing folder, and you're going to go back to using the same sandwich that you had for the Stampin' Up ones. You're going to use the base plate, and then the 2 number 3s. With your embossing folder smashed with the paper in between with the seam going in first. So then you're going to say, hey Jill, what if I have some really old stuff that I bought when I first started this line of hobby, and I had a Cuttlebug, and I bought Cuttlebug folders. They work exactly the same way. You still can use them. This is a Cuttlebug folder. Place it between the 2 white, or the 2 number 3 plates, just on top of the base plate, and roll it on through. You're good to go. You can use them all. If you're having issues, try using shims of cardstock. Just take some cardstock and lay it on top of your, let me stick this back in here, lay it on top of the plate here, the number 3 plate, and just see how many layers it takes. You'll want a bigger piece than this because you'll want it to cover the whole piece here, but just, you can lay it on top there. One piece might be all you need. You might need a couple layers, but that should be all that you need to get that to go through and give you the impression that you're looking for. Also, another fun fact, if you are using the 3D folders or these dynamic folders, to get a great impression with these, because they are so much thicker, you can spritz your cardstock before you put it in the folder and run it through, and the water is going to loosen up the fibers, so when the folder goes through, this is a beautiful impression in this, but some of the other cardstock could be thicker, and spritzing it and loosening up the fibers is going to help deepen that impression in there. You don't have to get it super wet, just spritz it down a little bit and you'll be amazed at the impression that you get on your paper. It'll just be beautiful. So that's it, guys. Thank you. I'll be right back. Gosh, how was that for a tutorial explanation of embossing folders and your Big Shot and your Stampin Cut Emboss machine? I didn't show you a whole lot with the Big Shot just because that's so last year. But we got the new cutting machine going, and it's wonderful. I've told you that. It works with all the folders, and it's just, as I stated, in your sandwich that you got to get your layers right. If you need a little tiny bit extra tightness, try a piece of cardstock as your like a little shim in there. And don't forget, as much as possible, run your folded end through first. If you run it through sideways, the pressure could scrunch the edge here. Also, be very careful when you're running them through that they're centered on your plate. You will chew up the sides of your embossing folder if you're not running them through straight. If you're running them through kitty wampus, it's going to chew up the side, and then you're going to be really disappointed because maybe you can't get that folder anymore. So that's it, guys. Have a great rest of your day. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll see you right back here next week for another version of Finally Friday with Green Thumb Stampers. Bye-bye.